Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another third-party unlicensed 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review. Today we're taking a look at the Toy Battalion Albino Ninja, aka Mighty Morphin White Ranger in his Ninjetti outfit from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. Now I got mine as a review sample from One Man's Hobby. I have popped a link to their site in the description below for your reference purposes only. As always, this is not a promotional video. This is a review. All opinions are 100% my own. If you are heading down to the description though, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new Toy Battalion Power Rangers figure review goes live on the channel. Being a 90s kid and an Aussie, this movie hit hard for me because it came out in 95 and it was predominantly filmed here in Australia. As for the box art, up front we've got a silhouetted image of the Ninjetti White Ranger down below, and up top, his third-party name, Albino Ninja. On the side of the box we have a bunch of lightning and a lens flare in the middle, plus Albino Ninja once more. Around the back we have an up-close silhouetted image of his morpher, and they've printed the warnings and legal information in this circular frame to sort of make it look like that stuff is the power coin. I don't know about y'all, I'm not the biggest Ninjetti fan. I much prefer the fully armored morphed suits from the start and the end of the movie. Luckily, Toys Battalion is making those as well. First in-hand impressions for the Ninjetti White Ranger. So far, so good. He feels a little bit lightweight, but his outfit is full fabric, so we can pose the shit out of this guy and we don't have to worry about creasing or damage. What we're going to do now is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Starting off with the display base first. Unlike the officially licensed 3-0 Power Rangers releases, we actually get a base here. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but at least they included one. There's no nameplate, the artwork is quite understated with the morpher up on top and the Falcon power coin in the middle. Then we've got an adjustable crotch grabber. Or Saba, they did our boy dirty. Did they not look at any reference at all for this? It's completely inaccurate. The size and shape of everything is off, the blade isn't supposed to be gold, and the head certainly isn't. Compared to the 3-0 Saba, it's a night and day difference. This is way more accurate, and it's got the actuating extendable blade. Why they didn't just copy what 3-0 gave us, I've got no idea. We do get some separate little hood/mask pieces, and you'll see what they look like on the body a little bit later. And lastly, a full array of gloved hands. I like the gestures that they've given us. These are like some martial arts style pose hands. The fingers are nice and rubbery, and they're done in this pearlescent metallic finish. I've got a feeling this pearl paint is going to make shooting this figure a nightmare. I apologize for the glare, there's really nothing I can do. Even on a black background, they're going to blow out like this. There is some leather grain texture on the surface, and we've got this plate around the back, plus some wrinkling and stitching in certain places. Two gripping hands, the fingers are very pliable, popping Saba in there should be quite straightforward. And then two closed fists already installed on him out of the box. What we're going to do now is get the Ninjetti White Ranger himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. This is a very straightforward release, and it makes sense that it was made by a third-party company. It does just enough right to make me happy. Still, it does exactly what it says on the tin and not a single thing more. It's a 1/6 scale Ninjetti White Ranger. It doesn't exactly excel at anything really. In most ways, it's just okay. The sculpt is fine, there are a few inaccuracies on the outfit and we'll get to them, but it's the body that lets this guy down the most. It's barely passable. The proportions are decent, it's the in-hand feel and articulation where the body is at its weakest. But somehow it still won me over. It doesn't sound like I'm painting the best picture, this figure having all of the flaws that it does, There's enough to like here that if you're an MMPR movie fan like I am, I reckon you're going to be pretty happy. Up close and personal, kicking things off with Tommy's head sculpt. Is it Tommy, though? I've tried to see the young JDF likeness. I've squinted, I've turned it every which way, it's not coming through for me. If you can see it, weigh in down in the comments below and tell me I'm going crazy. At the very least, there's a decent amount of detail. The eyes are well painted, there's skin texture, and even a subtle 5 o'clock shadow. The skin texture and skin tone match between the sculpt and the neck is perfect. Not that you'll ever really be able to see it, because when you don't have the full hood and mask on him, you're meant to pop this wired sock piece around his neck, and that bulks him out a little. And it's also meant to represent the mask, I believe. There's a wire around the bottom and a wire around the top. I've tried to get it to sit flat like this, as it's supposed to. It won't do that. It springs up and it's got a mind of its own. You'll have to work with it, and I'm sure you'll be able to get it to look a lot better if you spend a bunch more time working on it. Going with rooted hair for the ponytail part is an interesting choice. I know why they did it, because if this was sculpted, it would have to be removable, so when you pop the hood on, it didn't look all kinds of weird from the back. I would have preferred that, because if it was on a ball joint, you could have articulated it and had it billowing off in the wind, or just looking more dynamic for action poses. Now the headband, like I already said, is sculpted and not removable. Around the back, these ties are made of rubbery plastic, so no worries when it comes to breakage. I am curious to see what he looks like with the hood and mask on, so let's give that a go. You see, that's more like it. That's my Ninjetti White Ranger. He's always going to be wearing the mask and the hood. Luckily, the hood just sits perfectly. It's not wired, it doesn't need to be. It frames the face exactly as it should. When you're installing the mask, do make sure the gold trim is up the top, because that's the widest point of the piece of fabric. It tapers down to the neck so it sits properly, and there's no gold trim on the bottom anyway. I'm hoping this helps someone, and I'm aware he looks goofy with his mask underneath his ears, but when you're trying to install it, if you find that the ponytail is getting in your way, you can wedge your fingernail underneath the connector and remove it entirely. Now, everything will slide in place, and that bulky ponytail is not going to get in your way. The outfit is full fabric, and it's quite poofy, so you will have to do a lot of futzing to tame this material, otherwise it will make him look a little bit weird in certain poses. Just tug on the material and get it to hug the body correctly after you've dialed in your pose. This front, almost tunic piece has the power coin glued to the front of it, and it's done in a metallic finish with a black wash over the top to bring out all of that sculpted detail. Technically, the shoulder pads should be done in the same pearlescent finish as the gauntlets and the gloves and the boots. So, for right now at least, that's the one glaringly inaccurate thing jumping out at me right away. So, the gloves, I like them. They're well sculpted. They're done in the same pearlescent finish as the gauntlets and the boots, so everything matches. And in the movie, the Ninjetti Rangers did have gloves on in the scene with Dulcia, I think. But for the most part, they were ungloved when they were in these outfits. And the upcoming Toy Battalion Pink Ranger doesn't have gloved hands, so I'm going to swap these out with correctly scaled ungloved hands when I pop this guy in my display. These are my go-to hands for a job like this. They're the Worldbox Newly Hand Sculpt. A terrible name for some of the most detailed hands that I've ever seen. There's skin texture and wrinkling and shading for the knuckles and vein work, and even some painted fingernails and cuticle detail on them. Let's pop these on the body and see what that looks like. Really good is the answer to that. This is more accurate to most scenes of the Ninjetti from the Power Rangers movie. I haven't mentioned this yet, but they've even added real laces inside the eyelets around the inside of the gauntlets, and that's what cinches these tight around his forearms. I wasn't expecting this. I thought for sure these would be fully sculpted and they would have cheaped out and done faux laces. Now his belt is made of fabric and it's velcroed in place around the back. Nothing seems to be stitched onto the body, So if you did want to switch it out for a higher quality, more flexible one, I reckon that is doable. Coming down to the pants, it's just plain white, stretchy, spandexy style fabric. It is cinched, as you can see above the boots. Just make sure you tuck that into the top of the boot guards, and that way this will bunch up and sit over the top like it's supposed to. Speaking of the boots, laces around the back, love that detail. But unfortunately, they did miss the gold trim for these edge pieces, top and bottom for the boots, as well as the gauntlets. That's something I may end up painting myself. On the underside, we've got some fully sculpted tread, and there are these little ninja toe slits around the front. Time to try out some head swaps, I reckon. I want to see what the helmet from the MMPR White Ranger looks like on this body, and this head sculpt on that one. Let's get started. Oh, dude, the 3-0 White Ranger helmet on this body is sick, man. I'm tempted to display him like this. I know I went on about accuracy a whole bunch, and this isn't accurate to anything, but I've seen people do this with their Lightning Collection figures, so I just had to give it a go. I don't regret doing it one bit. Like I said, now I'm tempted to maybe display him like this, at least from time to time. Whoa. I like this better than I was expecting. Yes, the likeness still isn't there for me. An unhelmeted head sculpt on this body just makes sense. 3-0, please give us a JDF sculpt, and while you're at it, do the rest of the team too. For a quick side-by-side comparison, on the left, Toy Battalion's White Ninjetti Ranger, and on the right, the official 3-0 White Ranger based off his appearance in the MMPR TV series. This is giving me serious Season 3 Mighty Morphin Power Rangers vibes. While that's not my favourite season of Power Rangers, it's far from my least favourite. Toy Battalion's figure is the taller of the two, but if you think about it, that does sort of make sense, because when he's morphed and he's got his helmet on, the helmet would be compressing his hair, which would reduce his height a touch. Going over articulation, starting off with Tommy's head sculpt. It is on an articulated neck with a ball joint at the bottom, and there's a double ball peg up underneath the head itself. Looking forward to there, looking up to there, swivel and pivot side to side. The arms will go up to there, going forward and back on clicky ratchets. There's a butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow on ratchets going past 90. Then for the wrist peg, it's a hinge and swivel. His torso crunches forward to there, going back to there, relatively unhindered because his outfit is full fabric, swivel and pivot side to side. His legs go forward to there, going out to there, swivel at the upper thigh. Ratcheted double bend at the knee, going past 90, and then a double ball peg and a split cut boot design for the ankles. Good for forward and back rotation, as well as ankle tilt. Wrapping up on Toy Battalion's Albino Ninja, aka the MMPR movie's White Ninjetti outfit for Tommy. This figure is far from perfect. It's inaccurate in a few places, and the body is awful. It does enough right for me. If it doesn't for you, I totally get it. There is plenty of room for improvement, at every level pretty much. The head sculpt and body are both tied as the biggest flaws for me. With a new body and a fresh head sculpt, or even the mask on the one that he comes with, this could be a stellar Ninjetti figure. As it comes out of the box, not so much. The one big selling point has to be the full fabric outfit. In a world where most high-end figures are covered in rubbery and screen-printed fragile superhero suits, this is a breath of fresh air. You can actually leave him in dynamic poses, which isn't something I can say about most modern-day figures. Does this release do enough right to warrant me recommending it? Just. It was touch and go throughout the course of this video. Nostalgia may be influencing my decision here. Either way, I am glad I got him. Mine was sent to me as a review sample by One Man's Hobby. I have popped a link to their site in the description below for your reference purposes only. As always, this was not a promotional video, this was a review, and all opinions have been 100% my own. If you are heading down to the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button? if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.